This is michellesam from Sammy Kitchen. Today we are going to be learning how to prep the meat for stir fry. Before going into that, I thought it would be a great idea if I shared a little bit about how I do meal prep and also what I call conscientious shopping. So by conscientious shopping, there are two goals that I have in mind, and that is to be able to buy healthy as well as to be able to buy economically. So these are two tips that I wanted to share with you before we actually go into the meat preparation for stir fry. So meal prep. So how do you provide healthy, tasty dishes without breaking the budget? I plan my meal prep around the anchor ingredient. So the anchor ingredient is the main ingredient in my dish, and that's usually the protein. So how do I decide what that anchor ingredient is that's going to be for my meal prep for the week? The way I do it is based on what's on sale at the grocery stores. So I usually have three favorite grocery stores that I frequent, and with these grocery stores I also know the name of the butcher. And in California, every Tuesday there are flyers that come out in the mail, or if you are a loyal shopper, you can go and download the app onto your phone and you can preview what's on sale for the upcoming week. So here I have what's going to be on sale for the upcoming week. And I go through these on Tuesday and I will look and see what meat's on sale and then add the other ingredients that would accompany the meat. And just for a case in point, yesterday I actually went shopping for all this meat and I looked to find what was on sale, and I saved 71%. There were a few meats that I bought at this particular grocery store, and it was supposed to be $48, and I ended up paying less than $20. So if you do the math, you would save a few $1,000s on meat for the year if you shop this way. And if you are a loyal customer at a particular grocery store, download the app, and sometimes they even have additional savings for people who have downloaded the app. So that is really a great way to shop and save some money. Now for stir frying meat. So for stir frying, first you have to understand that in most of my recipes, I only use a half a pound of meat with twice as much vegetables, and that serves 4 people. So that's not that much. So having said that, it allows you to buy the better quality meats instead of the cheap cuts, because you are only going to be using about half a pound for 4 people. However, there are certain cuts that are better than others. So for my stir fries, I do have some seafood, but today I'm going to be focusing on the meat. We have beef and chicken and pork. So I'm going to quickly go over what I think are the better cuts for stir fry. Some restaurants use more inferior cuts, and they get away with this by something called velveting their meat, and that is soaking it in a little bit of baking soda and washing it out, and that actually will tenderize the meat and it'll have a different mouthfeel. I just tend to buy the better quality cuts because you're not using that much. So let's start with the beef. For the beef, I would say that many households will tend to use the flank steak. So we have flank steak, and we have also a sirloin steak. So if you go into the grocery store and you're just really overwhelmed, I would say stick with what is called a steak versus a roast, because the roast usually is better for braising or a long slow cook, but for stir fry we want to have it really fast and it's not long enough to break down the muscle fibers in the meat to make it tender. So we don't want a tough meat. And many times if you get a choice grade, you'll see more marbling in the meat, and that means like the fat is actually embedded in the meat. This is actually a good thing because it makes the meat more tender. So you don't have to go with the prime grade, which is the most expensive grade. Choice is the middle of the road. So go with choice, and then stick with the meats that are not normally used for roasts. However, there is the beef loin, which is the tri-tip, and you can cut it so that it could make good stir fry. So for stir frying, as far as beef is concerned, there's the flank steak, the sirloin, and the tri-tip. There are ends like the rounds and the end roasts. Those tend to be tougher because of the lack of fat in them. Okay, so that is the beef. For the chicken, I do have a whole chicken here. If you have a great, unbelievable sale on whole chicken, you can always buy the whole chicken, and I do have a video that shows you how you can cut the parts of the chicken out and split the breast in order to get the breast meat out. So you could buy whole chicken. There's other recipes like the Hainan chicken, or what I would call batzamgai, that uses the whole chicken. Otherwise, you can buy the boneless, skinless breasts or split breasts, depending on your budget and how much time you want to spend on prepping your meats. This is what's most commonly used for the stir fry. And then there's also the chicken thighs. Now, normally they don't use the chicken thighs for stir fry. It's just a matter of aesthetics. I've cut up chicken thighs and it's worked just fine. If you are a beginner with stir fry, I would start off using the thighs because there is more fat in the actual thigh meat, and this will allow more margin for error when stir frying your chicken. Okay, and then there is the pork. Now this is the pork butt, and you can see that there's a lot of fat between the meat. This is something we would use for grinding up and maybe making dumplings and other stews with this pork butt or shoulder. For stir fries, what you really want is a lean meat. So this is actually a boneless pork loin, and you can see that, except for this part where there is a layer of fat, this is perfect for stir frying. And I have this big loin, and I am just going to be cutting it up. Some I'm going to use for Chinese pork chops for stir fry, and even with that, I'm going to slice a few into bite-sized strips, and then others I'm going to cut them into like matchstick strips for different dishes. So pork is really versatile. So those are the 3 different meats that I'm going to be showing you how we're going to be cutting for stir fry. A few other tips for meal prep. When prepping your meat, do not use a wooden board. If you can, use one that is dishwasher safe. And usually with meat, I will cut it on a plastic board and have that go through the dishwasher after I've cut all my meat, especially chicken and pork. Besides that, for meal prep, if I buy a lot of meat like I just did, what I'll do is spend a little bit of time and cut as much as I can and then marinate it, pack it into meal-sized portions, either in a Ziploc bag or wrapping it up in some plastic wrap, labeling it, and then putting it into a larger Ziploc bag. And make sure that you consume that in a timely manner. So this will really save you a lot of time when you are really busy during the weekday and you want to do stir fry. All you need to do is take out your frozen marinated meat, put it into a container and let it refrigerate during the day, and then by dinner time you will have your marinated meat ready for stir fry. So I have here my cornstarch as well as my bulk marinade that I am going to be using to marinate all my meats as I go along after I cut them.